Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's K-Rod here. I'm only here for a little live that I have to do, and then I gotta get going. I have to do some stuff and get ready for work later. But yeah, let's get right into it. Man, I can't believe it's already Thursday. I thought today would be Friday, but I guess that's what happens when you work overnights at a job. Yeah, hopefully Thursday can be good, and then Friday is just all easy chill day. But yeah, let's get right into it, man. Let's talk about why British boxing fans are not the most supportive fans in boxing. This is a myth that a lot of people tend to believe in, to think that British boxing fans are the best fans in boxing, and I personally believe that is not true. I do know some people do follow me that are from the UK, but if you guys have your own insight on that, I'm pretty sure most of you guys follow more American boxing compared to British boxing, because as far as I know, British boxing is not really that popular in the UK. So whatever that people do say that the UK generates a lot of fans in boxing, I find that hard to believe, because as far as I know, Britain's economy is not as big compared to America's economy, so the economic attraction to sports is not as big at a higher level compared to American sports, where you have football, basketball, baseball, boxing, hockey. You have pretty much all the sports here that, showcases talents at a worldwide level. Versus in Britain, you're hearing a bunch of names that nobody doesn't give a shit about, and I'd say to a marketability level, nobody doesn't know who those people are out there, except for the people that probably just cheat, and then people do know who they are, but they're not really known worldwide. And that's good though, because that just shows that British athletes are really not that well known, and they have to really stop, I guess, being cheaters in certain cases and actually become a household name of their own before they can compete at a world level. But let's just talk about boxing in particular. The reason why I don't believe in the whole myth that British boxing fans are the best fans in boxing, I disagree with that, because if that were to be true, British people would start giving a lot more respect to their boxers, and if anything, British boxers would actually have like a bigger following, and then they would have like a much higher chance of increasing their stock in getting bigger fights, and probably increasing their career and legacy, because by that notion, you would have to assume that every British fan that does support their fighter tunes in, and they would be getting a lot of viewership and support of their big fights. Which, I mean, yeah, there has been some British fighters that made it big, but I'll go with like Lennox Lewis, which British people don't consider like a real Brit, because he had Jamaican, Canadian, and British heritage of that descendants that did not fully commit to the British heritage, which I find that bullshit, because if he's part of Britain and his family's from there, then Lennox Lewis is viewed as a, like, to me, if I'm from Britain, I'm going to look at Lennox Lewis to be like the biggest inspiration to be on the come up, not no fucking Tyson Fury, who's not even that big of a household name, and I don't think a lot of people really care about him. And shout out to Mo Boxing. He makes really good content over there if y'all want to subscribe, but he makes a good point to even state that people do not give a shit about Tyson Fury, in the UK. So Tyson Fury is just making a full mockery out of himself, and that's how gypsies are. Gypsies have to lie their way through just to make themselves look good. But if anything, he's going to have his downfall, and I don't see how anybody really remembers him other than to be a drunken piece of shit cheater. Versus Lennox Lewis, he committed to his career and he did everything right, and he's went through some really good wars back and forth. But guess what? Lennox Lewis, he did everything that he had to do. He fought the best, he beat the best, and he did everything that he had to do to dedicate himself as a fighter. So I don't see how Lennox Lewis did anything wrong, other than that's what he wanted to do. So I mean, British boxing is really not that good in the first place because one, the fans are very biased. Two, the media is absolutely retarded towards the fighters that they do support. And three, they just have like horrible skill sets as far as like a good portion of them. Like, I'll just go with like Anthony Joshua. Yeah, he's a good fighter. I do respect him, but his skill set is just not there. Like, if he meets a guy like Deontay Wilder, he's getting knocked the fuck out. Joshua, he does not have like this good flashy defense that some people say that he does have. Oh, like he got like a good shin. No, he doesn't. Joshua damn near almost got stopped by Andy Ruiz in the second fight, but good enough he used his boxing technique to push Ruiz back, and he just managed to stay on the outside. Okay, good for you, but still, AJ, he's very robotic. He doesn't have all the talent in the world, but I mean, he is still a good, decent fighter, to say the least, to fight to the best of his ability. So I will give him that, but at the end of the day, like, Anthony Joshua is still Anthony Joshua, and what you get is what you see out of him. But Anthony Joshua is only good out of his own detriment because he's only been in there with guys that he knows he can beat that come out of the UK. He really hasn't fought any of like these top American heavyweights like Deontay Wilder. I'll even go with Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz was supposed to fight Anthony Joshua, and guess what happened? That never happened because Luis Ortiz was supposed to get a fight through DAZN to fight Anthony Joshua, and then AJ he ducked away from that fight, and Eddie Hearn promised Luis Ortiz that he would give him that fight, and then he got kicked out of DAZN, which is absolutely bullshit. But either way, it's just like, it's absolutely fucked up and it's evil because it's like, if that's how British people support their fighters and they don't care about what the facts showed, that their fighters are not fighting the best, and how the fuck can you guys really say that you guys are, like the number one fans in the world? And that's not true, though. But I will make the argument to say that American and Mexican and Puerto Rican fans are probably the best fans in boxing. And the reason why is because, one, we do support our fighters, number one. As much as I hate Canelo Alvarez, that shows, in and of itself, that Canelo, he does have a deep fan base, but most of his fan base is mentally retarded, and I will give him that. But if Canelo knows that he has those people showing up to his fights, even though that he's not even making that much money compared to what he could have made with Golden Boy if he were to fight the best under Oscar De La Hoya, which I think honestly he should have just remained as a free agent and just take free agent fights. I think that would have helped Canelo better in his route to glory, or probably just go with maybe PBC or DAZN or Top Rank. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Like, I think Canelo, if he actually had balls of steel to actually fight the best, then Canelo, he would be a top, Mexican, well-favorited fighter that many Mexicans would like. But a lot of Mexicans don't like him because I've been doing my research, but a lot of Mexicans do not like Canelo Alvarez. That is true. A lot of Mexican media have been criticizing Canelo Alvarez, but I will say Mexicans, they do show out for their fighters. Regardless of what people may say about the majority of Mexican boxing fans, which I do have my criticism towards them, and I do not always respect them, but they do their thing to try to show out to be the best of their own, department to support their fighters. So, Mexican fan base fans, or, Mexican boxing fans are heavily more invested into boxing, and they definitely show up, for the women too. The women definitely do their thing, and I personally love the women more than I really do with the men. But I do like the Mexican boxing, community. Good number of good people that are kind and respectful, but all the mentally retarded Mexicans that really be talking out of their ass and trying to think that they're the best in the world and Mexicans run boxing. No, that's not true. You guys are not that good as far as world title competition, and that's been shown time and time again that you guys are never going to get to that level because most Mexicans don't have good defense, when it comes to boxing. And the only Mexican fighter that I could really say that probably has good defense as of now, I'm probably going to have to go with maybe Jose Ramirez, because that guy, he knows how to hit. But Jose, when he gets a punch off of you, he basically uses a lot of technical maneuvering to actually get a good shot, to use his defensive footwork to get the ball rolling. But if that doesn't work, I like Gabriel Flores. I mean, he's Mexican American, which I'm probably going to have to even go over to the American side first or after this. But I mean, his style is pretty good. He's very technically sound. He doesn't really let anybody catch him, and he just continues to keep getting better in every single fight. But I'll go with like another Mexican. I'll probably maybe go with I mean, yeah, there's really not that many, because it's like I can't really think of any good technically sound Mexican fighter. Maybe other than Luis Neri, which I do like him. He's a good fighter. I definitely do give him the benefit of the I do give him the benefit of the doubt that he does work on his defense and he tries to take less punishment as possible. But his technicality is really good. I really do respect what he does in the ring. And I like how he fights. It's not like he just goes toe to toe with you. He actually tries to outbox you, and he tries to think it out. But good for him. Good for him. I like those type of fighters that actually like to expand their skill sets and make the game better for boxing to be the best. But either way, let me go into Puerto Rican and American fans. I think Puerto Rican boxing fans are probably one of the best boxing fans ever, because you can see that now with guys like Edgar Berlanga, Xander Zayas, Christopher Pitufo Diaz. But if you want me to go old school, look at Miguel Cotto and Ivan Calderon. Really good fan base. A lot of them have done everything right in their power. And I think that shows how good that the fan base has evolved. Even look at Amanda Serrano. A lot of people love her. I love Amanda. Greatest woman ever. I really hope I could get her onto my platform one day. But she's highly decorated. She really tries to do the best she can, and that's why I think Puerto Rican boxing fans are really good at what we do as a whole. You see YouTube channels like Cano Loco Sports, or even that other Puerto Rican boxing channel, Long Live Boxing. They do great work. I know that there's one Mexican there, but the Puerto Ricans that really show out for their fighters, those people really do support them. And I'm pretty sure there's plenty of others that I don't know too much yet, or too much of, but I really do respect the Puerto Rican boxing community. Those guys really do love their fighters, and they really do stick up for a lot of the up and coming people that are trying to make it big in the sport. So I really do appreciate what they try to do, and I hope a lot is more to come, because Puerto Rico is really a powerhouse in boxing. Almost kind of same thing with Mexico in a way, but I think Mexico is on the decline and Puerto Rico is going to dominate. And then when we do dominate, then I would like to see Mexico and Puerto Rico go at it once more. I think what the final step is just mainly trying to go after more titles in the future, and then go after Mexican titleists, or challengers in the sense. So I really do appreciate the Puerto Rican boxing community. They're great people. I love the fighters that that I ride and die with. Shout out to Christopher Pitufo Diaz, and shout out to Xander Zayas, Edgar Berlanga, even though I have some issues with him, but shout out to everybody, man. I really don't try to be like the one to be, you know, bias of them, but if I have like a problem with either one of them or anybody else, then I'm going to say what I need to say, because it just needs to be called out, man. I'm not gonna sugarcoat on any of my fighters that I stick up with, but at the end of the day, if I know, like, Edgar Berlanga, if he's gonna do something stupid in his career, then I'm gonna call that nigga out for real. Because that nigga, he knows that if I got problems with him and all the other Puerto Ricans are having like a problem about it, then guess what? I'm going to say what the fuck I'm going to say about Edgar Berlanga. I mean, shit, if Canelo, if he was Puerto Rican, all the shit that he's doing now, I would disrespect the shit out of fucking Canelo. I don't give two shits. I will still disrespect Canelo the way he's moving now if he was on my ethnic side of my heritage. Like, if he was Puerto Rican, I will criticize Canelo. I'm not going to be biased about my fighter just because he or she is Puerto Rican or black or whatever. But let's go over to the American side. When people say black people don't have support from their own community, especially black American fighters, that's bullshit. Black American fighters do have a lot of support of people. The problem is that black people in America need to start going to boxing fights more. If black people start doing that more, as well, if they want to support other fighters of different ethnic backgrounds, I think that's going to reanimate the popularity for black American fighters. See, now, as people would say that black American fighters or any American fighter doesn't get support from their fans, that's absolutely bullshit. We've heard that argument so many times in the sport of boxing, and that's not true. Oscar De La Hoya, he's Mexican, he's Mexican American, but Oscar De La Hoya, he has a wide popularity of black people that support him. I'll go with Miguel Cotto or Hector Camacho. Plenty of black people love him. A lot of black people love Hector Camacho, and a lot of black people love Miguel Cotto, Wilfredo Benitez, Wilfredo Gomez, Ivan Calderon, anybody you could think of. So whenever, people from the other parts of the boxing world, especially from Europe, say, oh, Americans are not real boxing fans, who the fuck are you talking to? America is boxing. America revolutionized boxing, and we technically made boxing here. Yeah, people want to say boxing was made in the UK, but that's not really true, though. Boxing was invented out in the ancient eras of Egypt, when combat sports was heavily being favored in Egypt back in those days. That's when guys actually started, using real professional fighting style, gloves, or some of that type of innovation, where people started fighting, out of pure combat sport. So I think that's what a lot of people forget to understand, that fighting itself, or modern pugilism, has been around for thousands of years. It did not come to the West in the 1800s. That's absolutely bullshit. Yeah, the British, marketized boxing, inside their hometown, but that same argument can be made for Canada, where people say Canadians invented basketball, but that's not true. The sport of basketball was created here in the United States, and prior to basketball, people were always playing basketball. So basketball was an ancient driven sport, but for boxing itself, boxing has been around for hundreds and thousands of years prior to the early ancient BC to current human or current modernized time era. So I would say, yeah, the Egyptians were the ones that actually made boxing a thing. But modern pugilism has been around for a very long time, way before the Western world ever took notice of it. But I do believe that America is number one in boxing when it comes to talent. But as far as fans, our fan base is pretty good. Because if it wasn't true, then American boxing would not be popular. American boxing would be unpopular, and British boxing would get all the love and drive, and then all the British fighters would come out here, and then they would be either competing in America, and then more fighters out of other parts of the world would be popular, and then American fighters would just be, overlooked. They would just be written off, treated a certain type of way, and then nobody would give a crap about them. But that's not true, though. We have so many fighters out of the past that have gotten so many that have gotten so many spectacular wins or spectacular wars with certain fighters that they've gone after, with the 80s and 90s, or the 50s to the 70s, or even the earliest as the 1900s leading up until the 1950s leading to now. You have all the household names. You got Sugar Ray Leonard, you got Sugar Ray Robinson, you got Mr. Bernard Executioner Hopkins, or B-Hop. You got Jack Johnson, you have Jake LaMotta, you have Sugar Ray Robinson, you have Rocky Marciano in that regard. You have Muhammad Ali, you have Sonny Liston, you have George Foreman, you have all these fighters that have gotten support over the past, I'd say, 400 years of actual modern pugilistic fighting. That has been a very ever-growing thing here in the U.S., where the bright lights are put into the ring, and the sport of boxing has been praised for quite a long time. See, now people will disagree with that, but that's not really true, though. If you just look at the fan base of those fighters, I'll even go with Jack Johnson. Everybody hated Jack Johnson, but at the same time, when people came up, when people went to go see his fight, they were most likely either cheering for him to win, or the people that hated him were still getting pissed off, but still wanting to see him fight. So, how does that make any sense? Because if Jack Johnson was to be that guy at the time, that would only mean that either the people that did like him were not the ones being racist towards him. The people that didn't like him were the ones that wanted to cheat him out and make his name look bad, so that way he could be, driven out of Galveston, Texas, and then there would be no more black heavyweights in boxing. And that's just simply false, because there's plenty of black people back in that era that were still beating the shit out of people in boxing. So, but the thing is that it shouldn't matter what you look like or what you do in the sport of boxing. As long as you keep winning and keep competing at a high level, then what's there to really argue? You're doing everything that you can as a fighter to make your name, and it's good enough that whether if people like you or don't like you, those people that don't like you are still going to come back to you and still talk crap about you. But at the same time, you're still winning fans from the people that have changed their mind, changed their mind overnight about you, where they give you enough credit. So before anybody even talks all this crap to say oh, Floyd Mayweather, he was hated by his own fans, blah blah blah. Really? Then why did so many celebrities still show up to his fights? Why did Kobe Bryant show up to his fights? Why did LeBron James show up to his fights? Why did all these celebrities that actually liked Floyd still showed up to his fights? So it does not matter what people say. It shows that the fact shows that if you are a household, cash cow name, you're still going to be hated, but when people like you, they're going to stick up for you. So, if we talk about a guy like Deontay Wilder is the face of boxing. Whether that people like it or not, he is destroying people as we speak. And he's going to destroy Tyson Fury, and he's going to eliminate him. His fan base is still large and popular. Wherever he goes, everybody is rocking Team Wilder. But for Tyson Fury, he does not have a single bit of fans here in the U.S. Like the Otto Wallen fight that he had a couple years back, he barely had any fans show up to that fight. Bob Arum had to give out free tickets just to sell the fight. And that just shows how trash Tyson Fury is in his marketability. But yet you guys over in the UK say American fans are the worst fans in boxing. No, British fans are the worst fans in boxing. If you guys support your fighter, you guys should just show up to Tyson's fight, right? Nope. No, you guys don't, because you know what the hell is going to happen to you. You guys are going to get ratted out of town when your fighter loses, and then all the other fans that don't like you, that support the other guy opposing your fighter, they're going to just shit on you. That's like the nature of sports. When you guys talk all that yip yap, and then you guys are contradicting yourselves, and you guys are just going to be driven out of existence. So yeah, I just wanted to get my point across, to just make the argument of why I believe American boxing fans and Puerto Rican boxing fans and Mexican boxing fans are the best ones in boxing, I would say, as of right now. But until then, which I don't think that will ever happen, that's really the reality, because nobody can't tell me different that American boxing is the best form of boxing that anybody wants to come out and see, whether if the fighter is good or not. But 9 times out of 10, American fighters actually do perform at a high level. See, now people may disagree with me, fine, I don't give a shit. But at the end of the day, you have to give credit where credit is due. And America, rules the entire world for sports. And yeah, there's other parts of the world that do better in other sports. Maybe South America and the Caribbean, they do better in baseball and soccer. And out in Europe, they do better in soccer too. But that does not mean that those places in the world can compete with boxing, basketball, hockey. I don't think American football, I don't think that will ever happen. I think that'll just be, never to be touched at all. But definitely basketball, baseball, maybe hockey, anything. I don't care. But I think that would be a good little, good little thing to experiment. But either way, I just wanted to put my point across, and I just wanted to do this live stream to kind of clear up the weather, or clear up the criticism talk that people have on this subject, and just explain why America, Mexico, and Puerto Rico are probably the better stables and boxing fans. So that's pretty much what I gotta say. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day, and goodbye.